Order, please. This regular meeting of the Joshua Basin Water District Board of Directors for April 3, 2024 is now in session at 5:30 p.m. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. The flag is just right here. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. Bring too much stuff here. Termination of a quorum. General Manager Johnson, roll call, please.
President Lowen,
Present.
Vice President Doolittle.
Present.
Director Beck.
Here.
Director Jonesberg.
Here.
Director Short.
Here. Thank you very much. Directors are present in the boardroom. There is no request for remote participation. We have a quorum. Okay, item 3 is the approval of agenda. We'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda minus item number 8B. B-boy, David Correa won't be here tonight. Is there such a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Second?
I'll second.
Thank you very much. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carried. Public comment. This time is designated for members of the public to provide comments on any district-related matter, whether appearing on the agenda or not. Under provisions of the Brown Act, the board is prohibited from taking action on items not listed on the agenda. At the discretion of the board's president, comments on a particular agendized item may be deferred until that item is heard. Do we have a public comment? Hearing none. General Manager Johnson, is there written electronic public comment?
None to my knowledge.
Thank you very much. Public comment time is now closed. Item 5. Since calendar items are expected to be routine and non-controversial to be acted upon by the board at one time without discussion, if the board member would like an item handled separately, it will be removed from the consent agenda for separate action. We have one item. It's the draft board minutes from the March 20 meeting. Does anyone?
Me too.
Okay, fire away.
All right.
President, you go.
Thank you. So, yeah, there were just a few things in here that I wanted to have clarified and corrected on page 6 under my statements. When I said, Doolittle expressed that it would be a nice gesture to show some appreciation considering she's been on the board for 4 years. That to me reads as if I was saying I myself personally needed to be appreciated because I've been on the board for 4 years. That's not what I'm saying. And that's not what I intended. So what I intended to say was that in 4 years' time, there hasn't been, in my 4 years, I haven't seen any recognition of board members. And furthering that, actually, I didn't see it for previous boards too, watching all the videos. Anyway, so that's one change. Does that make? So I just wanted to say, in the 4 years that I've been on the board, there hasn't been any expression of appreciation for the board.
Lisa, you have that?
Yes, thank you. And then the other thing is that I've got 2 more things. At the top of page 7, where I expressed concern, limiting training to only 2 directors. Yeah, I guess we can talk about this later, actually, because it was a new question, so I'll leave that. So down here in the general manager report. So I know that we're going to talk about it later, but the first bullet where of the district surveys, the results revealed that High Desert offers the highest stipend. Well, this is leaving out the benefits, and you did talk about the benefits.
So
And
we have a
Yeah.
plan for that today.
Right, I'm just concerned that these notes make it appear that if somebody just read these notes, they would not, know. So I would prefer it to say, conduct a survey comparing, I think while the, some districts also offered benefits impacting compensation amounts. That's, okay. All for me. Thank you, President Flowen.
Thank you. Director Jarlsberg.
Just a couple of things. Actually, in that same sentence that Director Doolittle just pointed out, there's a typo.
Oh, district.
District surveyed. But I think there's also a typo on page 8 at the top. I don't think General Manager Johnson attended all these meetings ahead of time. I think it was March.
You are correct. I read that and didn't see that. Yeah.
Okay,
Thank you.
I was reading it like 3 times.
I went to the teacher.
Yeah. That's it for me.
Director Short.
Mine's pretty easy on page 5, action item B. Right there at the bottom, it says master service agreement with the addition of biannual penetration, seconded by Director Doolittle. We need to add the word testing in there. I think it's important.
Oh,
to make the,
penetration testing?
nomenclature correct on that.
Was it penetration?
Yes, it's
testing?
penetration testing.
Yeah.
That's it.
Thank you.
Okay. Well, in other words, there is no item for the consent calendar, and the aforementioned things become item number 6. Given the amendments and suggestions and et cetera that was made, do we have a motion to approve the draft board meeting minutes for March 20?
So moved with incorrections.
Yeah. Yeah, I had the card in front of the horse, didn't it?
So moved,
Second,
all of that.
No, second.
motion carried. Item number 7, project list update. This agenda item is for informational purposes only. Staff may provide updates to the board on any projects listed. Board members may ask questions and seek clarification on any projects listed. If board action is necessary on any project, it will be scheduled as a future agenda item. General Manager Johnson, proceed, please.
I have a lot of update on this list from last meeting. The newest item that's in that turquoise blue color is the capital project for the inventory tree owners, which we have ordered all the inventory. We received most of it, not all of it yet, but most of it. So that one on our end, it already was waiting, but the project, the work part of it is complete.
Page, where is it?
Page 10, top of the page.
Okay,
We still have, several projects that we are moving on, and a couple of them will be full projects that will go in the next fiscal year. We're having a little bit of an issue with the keyless entries project. We are originally finding a vendor that will do it for a price that makes sense.
oh,
So we're still exploring, so I think more information. That's, other than that, it's anybody from staff have any updates. You're happy to take any questions.
On the project list?
Yes.
Yeah, help yourself.
Thank you for this. I really appreciate being presented this, and it's nice to see the addition of the quarters on to the right and those are to suggest finish dates or start dates or in progress dates or what?
So the gray, if it has gray, then that's where it starts and where it ends. So if you look at the top of page 9, for instance, you have the website design, began in Q1 and then went through Q3. And then Q3, so Q4 has the white color, which means there's no work being done on the full redesign now, it's just maintenance of the website. Another example would be if you go down to page 10, we look at the E21 reservoirs, the third from the bottom. That one started in the second quarter and is still continuing, and that red asterisk at the end means it will continue into next fiscal year.
Oh, okay. Well, I haven't ever mentioned this to you guys, but, you have to be, I know you know this, but some of you probably, you have to be considerate of people that are colorblind whenever you use color, things like this. And this contrast, with the red and the gray is, very difficult to see. So I would, I'm sure you can figure out it. I won't suggest anything, but something to consider. And so, so the white doesn't mean anything. So when the block is white, that doesn't mean anything.
It's just that nothing's happening. in
Okay.
that Project, I mean,
Okay.
it's not really the right word, but.
I just wanted to,
it's
yeah.
on hold or in queue.
Yeah.
Or it's in, the beginning stages, but we're
Yeah.
not actively working on that project until it's in gray.
Okay. And if a project is going over schedule, how would that be reflected in these columns?
That's a good question. And right now, the only one that we have, what are these? That could go over schedule and is the key list entry, and that is to see around that vendor.
Yeah, there's always a good reason why they're
Yeah.
going.
Everything else is on queue. And if they're gonna go into next fiscal year, then we'll add that red asterisk because it needs to be moved into that year. So these projects are multi-year projects. They
Uh-huh.
take longer than expected for, various reasons. A lot of times, as supply chain issues and
Yeah.
other staffing issues that have made projects harder and harder to complete, but we're doing pretty well. You look at the ones in yellow, we were going to apply that one, you believe next time we meet again, or the project list is on the agenda, because we were just about finished with that, so that one is on track, but you can tell we're now in April, so we're in that fourth quarter, so that one technically would be slightly over, it should be finished by now, but we're trying to find the right kind of tents. That's the last part.
Oh.
The tents will be purchased if we had an earthquake and the buildings were not usable, we need to have an EOC. So we're looking for the right one. So that's the only part that's left on that particular.
With all the heavy equipment, it seems like we should dig an underground pit and just put it down there. Something to think about. You guys could practice. I know you'd like that. Huh?
Find a cave.
Dig it deeper. Okay. So what is the one at the bottom of page 11 that's in gray, light gray mean?
Okay, good. So that's the capital improvement plan updates, and that was one that we had hoped to start engaging with this year. Because of the strategic plan and some of the other items that we ran into that have been delayed. The strategic plan for the capital, this will get moved to next fiscal year, which is not enough time again with this particular fiscal year to start it.
Yeah, want to do a good job with it. So back to page 10, the modernized build design. I seem to remember like 2 years ago, we did some build design work. So is this different because we have a different vendor doing this now or?
So just a couple years ago, I was moving to a different printer. It was a bill.
Oh, okay.
Been the same for, I think.
Oh,
It's 2015.
Yeah, it's been quite a long time. It's still not a great bill. Needs some help.
Mhm.
So this is a little, we have a full design. I think I shared it with you. I showed it to you a while back.
oh, okay. Okay. So that didn't change. That was the
That's the
design.
same one.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay.
Just Getting back up on the tracks.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah, and yeah, okay. And then let's just see. I think I had one more question. I'm just looking for it. Oh, yeah, the AMI conversion, which I'm very interested in. I don't know what propagation study is.
That's funny because that question has
Yeah,
come up a lot.
I was gonna
It's
say.
another word.
Oh.
Yeah.
Probably have noticed
Okay.
there's many words that we use in all these documents that we have. We don't make this stuff up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is from the Aquametric company that is doing the study to see what the feasibility is of putting in radio towers in our areas. The radio towers have to be able to read each other. We have, some geographical situation with mountains or lower areas that you have to make sure that that can read. So they have been working on that. It's been very slow. If you want to speak to it, because I know you have some words about this.
It's been a very slow going project working with this particular company. They have a lot of different districts that they do work for. So we seem to have fallen under radar a little bit,
Oh,
but, we're seeing good headway right now with the actual project itself, and I'm currently designing where these towers are gonna go. And so, coming up in the future here. Like, look forward to look at.
oh, okay.
That, I think we actually talked about this, and so my coloring is incorrect here, of moving that to next fiscal year, and then because we're not going to make headway in these next 3 months on that project based on how slow it's been going with Aquametric. But we, like Jeremiah said, we're making some headway now, and during next month's, all month long budget, we're going to bring you a presentation on that, and each of these projects, but something we're doing a little bit different is, the presentation will have a slide for each project, so we can always refer back to that. So we say, well, that propagation study, we're gonna have that slide for you to refer back to, so you have more information, like a little fact sheet for each project that will match with this project list. So remember, this is still in its infancy. We just started this project.
Yeah.
A few months ago, and so we're, going to make it better and better, but we'll learn more about AMI. And we fully intend to have Aquametric come out and do a presentation once we get a little bit closer.
Yeah, just, so I guess the propagation means propagating the signals and stuff. That's all I can think of. Because, feasibility study would be a lot better. That's all, propagation, that is,
It's growing plants.
that's like, right. But that's like seeding things or something. So, all right, well, thank you. That's all from me.
Director Frick, anything?
Well, now that the towers were mentioned, I'm curious, how big and what are they?
Good question. Should we take it?
So San Bernardino County has very specific height limits for these towers. These towers are basically like a small radio tower. Like, for example, at the shop, we would be looking at, or the office, to put one of these towers, we can only go about 40 to 45 feet tall.
And how many?
And currently we're looking at 2 towers.
Oh,
For the whole site, for the whole district?
For the bigger base stations. They're broken down into the main base station, and that's the main collector that collects a range of, I think, 10 miles, depending on the geography.
Oh.
And then there's smaller collectors that will be putting in the outskirts, which don't require.
But a lot more to be learned, so we will make sure
Oh, yeah.
we bring that information.
Well, Just a slight history, I got onto the MAC in 2005 because they tried to put a 65-foot tower, cell tower in Panorama Heights, and they lied quite a bit about that. And then there's also on Sunny Vista, the county called it a sign and built a 65-foot tower. They call the sign, therefore it's not a tower. It's a loaded situation.
These are a lot less invasive.
Thank you.
Director Jarlsberg?
Maybe just a little follow-up on the propagation thing. I was thinking propagation is also adding more, kind of propagating more, so you're adding more talent. And I wondered if there's a possibility of, and I don't know if it's appropriate in this project list or not, because I think it comes up in the WRO, is it, committee, reports, percent, like the meter replacement program, for instance, on, down on the bottom of 10. Obviously, that's an ongoing project, but I'd like to know the percent that is finished, or the percent that is still to be finished, or something like that. I don't know if that's appropriate in this report as well.
We have less than 1,000 meters to replace
Out of how many?
out of 5,600.
Okay,
So we're looking really good
yeah,
right now, and that is projected to be completed this next fiscal year.
yeah. Yeah, okay, but I mean, is that something that would be could be, just like a little percent or something, or, I don't know,
It's just so frequently, because we're doing meter replacement all the time, so
right?
it would be better if we just report it, and then we were always within reporting.
Yeah, okay.
We'll be able to let you know each meeting.
Yeah, yeah.
Where we're at.
Okay, okay, yeah, I'm still getting used to this list. I think we all are, obviously. I kind of agree that red dot doesn't show up very well. I didn't even know it was there, so we started talking about it, So I don't know if it could be a maybe a black dot, I don't know, 'cause- but, let's see, was there anything else? I think that was all for me. Thank you.
Director Short,
No questions.
if nothing further, do you have any public comments on any of that? Thank you very much. Item 8, presentations. For informational purposes only, no action will be taken. Item number 8, if I didn't say that. Kathleen Radnich, public outreach.
Noticed that there was no gale force winds. Because I'm putting on an event right.
Give it time.
Well, let me start with my report. Catching us up, the last courses that will be offered before summer will be the spring wild camping classes. They will be the first 4 Fridays in May, so that's coming up, and there'll be the ability to register through information in the upcoming newsletter. I do want to note that we have such a wonderful partnership with the National Park, even though we scrambled, and so did they, to get that contract signed for the next 5 years. There was a glitch on the other side because they were going through some transition, so they're remedying it. But the day after the plant sale, we were out of contract, so it worked out. But with this teaching course coming up in May, we still don't have a contract, but they told me we're doing it anyway. They're gonna help teach it because we do it together. So then we don't need a contract to help you with that. So I just want to let you know, we really have a great partnership with the National Parks. And
Why do we not have a contract?
they have an issue on their end because of change of guarders.
So we've signed it, the
We're
board,
good.
the board that their part, and we're just waiting for them to sign it.
And if it comes back for a new signature, I don't believe we need nothing more than a signature. Yeah, it was a technicality that because of their change of guard, and he felt really bad, and there's bigger problems in life. Anyway, the May class is what's left on the docket, and I'm really excited about that coming up. So are a lot of people. Farmers market booth for April, yes, come on. I've done this for 14 years in April. What do you think it is? April's booth is, this is twice a year I do this. Water for emergencies.
Oh,
April
that's the
is.
newsletter.
There's Wake Preparedness.
Oh,
okay.
yeah.
And we will be there. And we will be teaching on water for emergencies. There also in May is the Help Yourself, Help Your Neighbor event with the Red Cross and all the emergency management responding type organizations and VOAD and volunteer organizations active in disasters. They'll be there at the Walmart, the 11th of May, I believe it is, but that'll be in the newsletter too, but we'll be there. We're gonna be there. So we really do hit the public for water for emergencies in April, in May, in September, and also in October, but heavily in April and September. So the garden, we have ordered some new signs for the signs that we planted, and then they withered in the sun. So they are being replaced, and just to let you know, that's in the works. They should be in, I think, within 8 weeks. So that's our best guess. Okay, and if you haven't taken a walk in the garden, don't postpone it too long. We haven't peaked, but it's coming. Because I have a feeling we're not gonna be warm when summer hits. It's just gonna happen. So go see the flowers while you can. The native plant sale was fabulous, fantastic, and all the above. We had a great turnout, a huge turnout, in fact. We had over 600 plants. I don't have the exact number because there's a last minute, oops, the national park forgot to bring me a bunch. And I wasn't there to count them and neither were they. And so the bottom line is we sold a lot of plants,
Mhm.
about 600. And that means we have double the revenues to split. So it was about $5,100, somewhere in there. And usually we go through all that work all day for about, $1,300 each.
Yeah,
So
wow.
the new director for the vegetation department there heard my plea, please up the plant count, we can sell them. And he did, and it was wonderful. So, let's see. All the free plants, by the way, that were in the booth over by the gate, as far as I know, they're gone. Everything got wiped out. The community was thrilled with all the stuff that came in from volunteers. And the mulch and the compost, which we still have some remnants, but everyone was thrilled with that. So my thanks on behalf of the Water District of Vertex, because not only did they provide it for free, they paid for the shipping. So that was a huge donation to our public event. And I do want to say we had some incredible volunteer help, and my hats off to President Sloan and Director Jarlsberg for holding down the fort. We had rain just in time to water the plants before everyone took them home. We worked it out. So moving on, but it was a great event this year, very improved. Very happy with it. Constant contact stats. We are going to be moving to our new newsletter, but just so you know, we're at still 53% opening rate, which is huge, and that's great. And the next new edition called the Meter Reader is coming. May edition, so that should be exciting. A lot of thought went into the formatting, and so we'll look forward to your feedback.
Hmm.
And that ends my Cliff Notes report for a very busy March. Any questions?
Vice President Doolittle.
I just have one question. So how do we use the money, our half of the money from the plant sales?
I can tell you it has varied over the years under different administrations, but it was always within the mission of that garden. 2 years, that money immediately went to flood control damage. We had a wall of mud twice go through that garden during a, what do they call it, 500-year flood or 100-year flood that hit us twice in a row.
Yeah.
I don't know how to figure that. But it did so much damage. 2 years, the money went for that.
Wow.
Another year, it went into some of our signage. Okay, and sometimes it just goes into replacement damage of plants or fixing. 1 year it went into fixing the pathways, and they really got damaged. It's usually just the garden repairs is where it goes. And it's really up to the management here how and what they're gonna move money for, but I just go out there and sell plants, so, try and make it happen, and people get very, very excited.
No,
Any other?
it was a great event. Thank you.
Director Fick,
No questions.
Director Jarlsberg.
Yeah, a couple of things. First of all, I wondered, do you need a volunteer for the Walmart issue thing?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, I think I'm feeling enough better. I want to get back into action. Yeah. The other thing is, yeah, the plant sale was amazing. Couple things that you mentioned. Are we gonna be able to get more mulch possibly, or was that a one-time deal?
I think we're on it for next year. I have to use all my charm
Oh,
and.
'cause I thought it was a great addition. It was like
I pull favors.
wonderful bonus.
Our people have to do something with the remnant. I did have a club.
Spread it around.
I had a club come in all week and they were chipping away at it. It was 40 cubic feet of each, that's all.
I'm surprised it's gone, basically. Well, almost,
So.
what I saw there. Oh, you moved it?
Yeah,
there's
and that's
You're
what.
gonna tell us where?
Impacts our staff too. I tried to get as much as I could on, and I had no choice. It's 40 cubic feet of each or nothing.
Yeah.
And just the cost to truck it. I took it, you know.
Do you know if that was a result of the new recycling or the new composting program that we're in?
I think that had something to do with it because honestly, there's a lot of pushback going on with that
Yeah.
program. And
This would be real positive if we
it
could
is
say,
very positive.
Yeah.
I tried to promote it during the event. That was Vertec, thank you, Vertec.
right,
And in our next newsletter, there will probably be, in case you missed it, thank you, Vertec, pictures, something like that, to give them proper recognition. Because that stuff isn't cheap if you go to the store.
nope, and it's so good. I mean, it's really good stuff. And to follow up the question about where the money goes, I had several people ask me, what charity is this going to or whatever? And I just think we should have signage, how it's gonna be used, if possible.
Well, in the newsletter, I say where the proceeds go at the bottom of the plan.
I don't know that most of those people that came read the newsletter.
Thank you. I will make a point to.
Just a little
post that
sign,
for next
Cause I
year.
did have quite a bit of people asking and I didn't know. I wish I had known, you know. so.
It really goes into, when we train, it's all for free. And there are little expenses. I
Oh,
don't want to
totally.
say, like on Friday when this place is closed, I open it up into my class. And we have lighting, conditioning, and that's just overhead. There's then the snacks and the paperwork and the
Yeah,
copy.
I just
So
said it was the
those-
district, but you know,
It goes- Well, it doesn't go to the district, it goes
Right.
to the program, the
Right.
districts.
Okay.
also.
okay, yeah,
And that's what keeps it free. And that's what I tell everyone. This is a free program. They can't believe it. The wildcrafting course is overwhelming. There's a lot of information. And they come out and go, wow, this is for free. So yeah, they get a lot of materials and it just covers the cost of training and teaching the right thing to do.
well, I think those are good things, but I think we should know about it and the people that come should know about it too.
More information out on it.
And then they were all asking, when is this happening again? I had to tell them it's once a year, you know, it's a big job.
It really goes well. So
Yeah.
I thank you again. for
Thank
all
you.
your support, for staff support too. Thank you.
Thank you.
Director Short.
I just have a quick comment, not really a question. About the classes you do. My wife took the seed to salad class and she was very happy with it. She's having some success with hers right now, so,
Well, they should be sprouting.
Oh, they are. yes, they are.
Yeah, and we have a lot of courses.
Mhm.
And just so you know, these classes were, not all of them, but many of them. I had to write special grants for them so that we didn't have to pay and no one had to pay. And we got that money through the strategic partner grant with Mojave Water Agency. Then Mojave kind of went through their transition and started rethinking how they were doing their outreach. And because of that reevaluation, they decided, and I think COVID had something to do with the Zoom classes now being acceptable. So they decided to open it up to their entire Mojave Water Agency region, which changed the whole formatting of how they were issuing money for
Oh,
classes.
Yeah,
But now anyone can attend, it could be high density, I always opened up our classes. But Adelanto and Newberry Springs are in on these classes too now, so that it's just a Mojave Water Agency event that
Mhm.
they're paying for that we all benefit from. So that's how it's.
Thank you.
So how long was your day?
Which one?
Yeah, I should have been more specific.
You really don't wanna know, but at least we made double the money for it.
This is the plant sale day. How many hours were you there?
How many fingers do you have missed? I got there at 7:30 and we left at 5:30.
And who was with you?
All day? You were there, or you came in. Who was with me?
your husband?
Oh,
Yeah, that,
This big employee, come on.
Jim Radnich, Kathleen's husband is sort of an unseen
Yeah.
supporter
Yeah,
around here relative to her venue, which is varied. He was there all day too. So was Pepper, their dog.
That's her job, yes. We all work.
She was very, very patient. As long as she could see Jim, she was happy. But it is a lot of work and you're 100% switched on all day long. And then there's the physical aspects of it afterwards. It's a big deal. And so in particular, I wanted to mention Jim, because there he is all the time and he's always doing something. I have the highest regard for him and his consistent. Also the market thing too. He comes in the morning, helps set up, comes in the afternoon, helps break down. He's just always there whenever you need him. And I just think it's a wonderful thing. Also, I can recall Jean was there till the very end. Also, she's the docent that tours the garden.
yeah.
She does, when I can't do the tour, she does.
Yeah, she's a consistent performer for us too. And I was somewhat surprised that the president of the board of directors of High Desert Water District,
Scott,
Third plant sale.
Scott,
that's Scott McCone.
yeah,
In spite of the fact that he was one-handed, he had his hand, one of his hands was swollen and purple and
yeah.
but he was working with one hand. In particular around where the plants were, I think.
Everyone, they
Yeah.
do, everyone.
Yeah. And he has conveyed, by the way, several times, a high regard for what we do here. And it's a tribute to us that he is willing to come here and donate
Yeah.
his time for hours that day, even though he was he was still in pain. Thing he had removed from his hand. But even the next day with those two piles of mulch and all of that stuff, I had a good time out there the next day because I went over and got some. And there were a bunch of people there. There was a board member from Copper Mountain Mesa there. And we had a long talk. We were communicating with several people that were there the next day. When they all left, it was kind of not fun to be there because I was all by myself. But I had a good time the next day also. That's enough for me, I guess. Thank you very much for your contribution, actually. So as aforementioned, the Citizens Advisory Council report was removed from the agenda today. Ava Carrillo is attending a special occasion of some sort. Item number 9, the action calendar, and the first item would be the appointment of a new Citizens Advisory Council. That's the CAC member. General Manager Johnson, please.
Thank you. So tonight we have a new. Debbie, please come up. We have a new person that is interested in joining the CAC, and she attended our last CAC, and this is Debbie Trunkali. Before she gets started, the board gets started, I still want to mention that we have Ryan Sherlin in the audience today, and he is also interested in joining the CAC. He submitted an application today. The agenda already posted, so it'll have to be a subsequent meeting, but he's here visiting today too. But in the meantime, Debbie, if you could please introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about yourself, and the board will ask you some questions, and thank you for coming.
I'm Debbie Trunkoli. I lived here probably almost 35 years, Joshua Tree. We moved here from San Francisco. And the reason why we moved here is we used to vacation in Palm Springs or Tahoe. And then I have a friend that built her house on the airstrip that's in Yucca. And he told us about Yucca, and so we came here. Me and my kids were gonna go see a friend in Arizona. And on the way here, I drove up and checked out my friend's house. I thought this would be a good place to raise our children. So I went home after the trip to Arizona and told my husband, and my friends flew him down here, and he fell in love with it. We've always liked Palm Springs because of the weather, and they like it up here too. So anyway, he went home, came home, we sold our house and moved. And so we've been here ever since. Looks like my resume was in here. Okay, so you can see all the places that I've worked. It doesn't mention that I worked at, for the school district before. I mean, I was in enough room, but, and also at Chief Auto Parts. Not that I know anything about cars, I did bookkeeping. So, that was a good job. We raised our children here, all three of them went to school, graduated from Yucca High, all three went to college. They paid their own way, I didn't pay a penny for them to go to college, they worked their way through. One's still paying for his loans because he went to Loma Linda, and then the other two have paid off their loans. And it was kind of funny because for a while, several years, all three of them were gone. One was in Sweden and one was in Ireland and one was in Texas. So it was just me and my husband here, and they all moved back. There's two in Yucca and one in Indio. Anyway, I don't have any questions.
Okay,
That Jackie and Ryan were both on the district tours. I think that might have sparked some interest in our district.
good point. Vice President Doolittle.
Well, I just want to thank you. It's wonderful to have someone like you interested in participating in the CAC, and your long history of being, involved in your community is very much appreciated. So thank you very much. I don't have any questions. I appreciate that. I think you'll be a great candidate.
Director Fick.
Well, I welcome the enthusiasm for this, and then reading your almost resume here, you did work from Rongo Basin Mental Health. Did they have an office in Yucca Valley?
They had one in Joshua Tree first on Sunset Road. It was a 1,500 square foot place. And then we moved to Yucca Valley. And they moved to a 15,000 square foot place. And when I quit, it was completely full with therapists, drug diversion classes, alcohol classes, things for children, mental health, help for children. There were probably 10 therapists. The psychiatrist came once a week and gave medications to people in the area. I'm really sad that we don't have it anymore.
I'm somewhat aware of it because Bob Lundquist was the first. I knew Bob Lundquist for 10 years, and
And
then,
then Mark.
yes, I know about Mark. So, yeah, and I'm a neighbor of the ranch. I'm to the west of the ranch on Sullivan Road.
Oh, on,
Yes,
what was that street?
Sullivan,
Panorama, yeah.
Panorama Ranch, long time. But yeah,
Yeah, that was helpful for a lot of people.
it was.
Director Charlesburg.
Yeah, sometimes we think of the CAC as a kind of jumping off point for future directors. Do you have any idea of an interest in that?
I've been watching the meetings and, yeah, eventually I need to get to know more.
Yeah, I was curious what area in our district you live. I mean, I forgot what, I want to call it a district, but it's not. What is it? Division. What division you might live in. I'd be curious about that.
I don't know. I just know I live on Vista Road. I don't know what division.
Well, I'm
it is.
especially interested, so I'll talk to you later.
Okay. Can you tell me? Did I say?
I don't know, well, maybe she,
Oh,
I don't know, but.
just gonna get the bill and pay it.
Good for you. That's the first qualification, yeah. But welcome, I'm pleased with your resume also.
Thank you.
Director Short.
I just want to say again, thank you for volunteering to do this. Obviously, looks like you're very qualified. So what about the tour sparked your interest in volunteering?
The knowledge that I got from it, Jeff Otto was really good at explaining a lot of things. It really helped me to know. And I had no idea of all the places where there were tanks, and I mean, you can see them when you're driving home and stuff, but there were places where I never knew that they were, and all the equipment and all the equipment to, I don't wanna say sanitize the water, but like with the chlorine and stuff.
Treat it.
Thank you. Yeah, I had no idea.
Yeah. What do you know about the CAC?
I've only been to one meeting. I didn't even know there was one. So I went to the meeting after the tour.
All right, that's all I got.
Thank you very much. Welcome.
Thank you.
Well, whoa, I'm a slow starter, you have to, you'll learn that as time goes by. Well, I always like to, tell people that there's two big deals here. One is water, that's number one, and number two, money. Where does the money go? How much is it? How do we prioritize? All the other kinds of stuff. So I think that, even as a bookkeeper in a business, I think it gives you a perspective that could be useful to us here. Also too, I've been thinking about this for the last couple of days too. And I have a somewhat of a discomfort in judging people that want to do what you two want to do, because this is a community-owned water company. You own part of it, and you and Ryan want to know what's going on here. And you're here to have this stuff explained to you. You don't have to come in here with a whole bunch of knowledge about it already. All you have to do is come in here with a brain, ears, and a mouth for questions, that kind of thing. And then I know in particular that the general manager will want to know what your opinions are about all of this stuff too. That you will help guide her in her perspective when she makes decisions about things. And so you're great just the way you are. But and also too, what can happen, and it can happen with the directors that come up here, it's very overwhelming at first when you come in here, because you barely know where the front door is, and all of a sudden you just see all of this technical stuff that's going on. It is indeed overwhelming to any smart person, even because it's subject matter that you're not accustomed to. So I counsel patience with us. We could be an eccentric lot here. But already I admire your sense of humor too.
Oh, good.
Welcome.
Thank you.
So-
I was thinking about it today. Why am I interested in water? And I remembered that my astrological sign, my sun sign, my moon sign, and my rising sign are all water.
Oh.
Why?
So I'd like to make a motion then. Are we ready?
And the manager,
Oh,
did
sorry.
you have more? I'm not sure.
I did not.
Okay. Proceed, please.
Oh, yeah, I'd like to make a motion that we accept the application of Deborah to become a member of the CAC.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you very much. Let's have a roll call, please.
President Flynn,
Yes.
Vice President Doolittle.
Yes.
Director Peck,
Yes.
Director Charlesburg.
Yes.
Director Short.
Yes.
Excellent. It's official.
Yeah, when is the next meeting?
Tuesday, May
14th.
May 14th. What time?
5.
Yeah.
Now you know what to expect, right?
Um,
In a preview.
Okay, the next item is a discussion and potential direction relative to director compensation. Sarah Johnson, please.
Thank you. Tonight, I am bringing to you along with General Counsel Jeff Hoskinson, opportunity for the board to discuss the water district stipend that directors receive for their services. I want to clarify that I think this topic has been brought up a couple times, but I never had clear direction of what to do with it because it does take a full board to make those decisions. There's no apprehension from staff, we're very usual in this, it just has to be an open discussion of board members about the stipends, and if there's an opportunity tonight, Jeff's here to help guide you through the legal parts of this. And also on your table, which you have received a stipend and benefit comparison. And that's one I was prepared recently and wanted to go over that with you, and then I'll let you take over the floor. You can see on the left, Joshua Basin Water District is $173.63 per meeting per day, not to exceed 10 per month, and that is a statute. But not to exceed 10 per month and per day. High Desert Water District is 175, and so I don't repeat it a bunch of times. Every one of these is not to exceed 10 per month and per meeting per day. The only oddball one in here is the Cabazon, and they must have limited themselves to 6, but otherwise they're all 10. You can see 29 Palms is 150, Maple Farms 162.89, Mission Springs 100, Cabazon's 100. The exceptions to the stipend regarding benefits are also listed on here. We looked into this a little bit. The benefits can be offered to directors, but it has to be offered at the same way it's offered to employees. So there's no way to say that, oh, we want to have benefits, but we want to pay a different amount. It has to be exactly the same as it is for employees. So High Desert offers the ability for directors to get into the vision, dental, and medical plans. The district pays 100% for their vision and their dental, and they contribute up to $1,989.72 per month for medical. Bighorn, they offer only the ability to get into the dental plan, and there's no agency contribution for that. Any costs are listed there for a single 2-party or family. And then Mission Springs, they have a little bit of a more complicated structure, but they pay just dental and vision at 95% of costs, and I am still unsure what they pay for their healthcare costs, but I do have the cost of the plans. I do not know what the contribution is for that. I'm happy to answer any questions or clarify anything on this little comparison, and of course Jeff is here to help guide the process, but this is really a good place for the board to have a discussion about compensation. And Jeff, I don't know if you want to chime in and talk about the process of how all of that works if the board decides they want to move in any direction. That way you have all the information up ahead of time before you start your discussions. I think that might be helpful.
Yes, I can certainly go through the process if the board desires, and you can also feel free to stop me at any point if it's more information than you're looking for. I do have a PowerPoint I can put on the screen, but I do need to have access to share.
Lisa, can you make them a co-host?
Yes.
And I will, as I'm waiting to get that so I can put that up, I will clarify too, it is a process that we will discuss. So perfect, it looks like I have it now. It is a process. So really all tonight, where you can't take any action to actually make any changes, but you can, but what we can do is get direction to actually start the process. And I'll kind of go over what that process is right now. Actually, hold on one second. Let me, I know I will mess this up if I don't start the slideshow and then share that. Bear with me one more second. Okay, I think this will work. Can you see that on your screen now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So the authority and limitations on increasing director compensation, the board has the power by ordinance to elect to provide compensation to its members and an amount not to exceed, and the statute provides for an initial amount of $100 per day for each day's attendance at a meeting of the board, and for each day's service rendered by a request of the board. Now you may be looking at that number and saying, well, ours is I believe it's 173. The amount can be changed by the board, and it's an amount not to exceed 5% for each calendar year following the operative date of the last adjustment. So in the case of JBWD, I understand the board last increased compensation in 2008. I believe actually specifically that was December 1st, 2008, to the 173, 63 per day. So you do have the ability within your discretion to increase up to 5% per year calendar year since you last did that. There are limitations that apply on compensation. And this is by statute, limitations that apply to the board's approval of compensation. You may not provide for compensation for more than 10 days in any calendar month. And now I know Sarah mentioned that one district in your area only allows for 6. That could really come from 2 sources. First, the statute itself is for no more than 10 days, but the board has the election to make that number less. In addition, this used to be separated between different types of water districts, and the county water district had its own provision. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, that had a limit of 6 days or not any calendar month. But that statute was usurped by, I'll call it a uniform process that covers all water districts. And it created the process that we're discussing here today. So that relaxed it to allow up to 10 days of compensation. But again, it's only based on a fixed amount per day within the statutory limits. Any compensation increase has to be approved by an ordinance adopted by the board following a public hearing that is noticed through publication in a newspaper within JBWD's boundaries once a week for 2 consecutive weeks. So if the board were to give us direction to move forward before you could actually consider that final ordinance that would set that rate, we'd have to schedule a public hearing and give the notice to the public of that hearing. The types of meetings for which you can provide and the determination of what's in the day's compensation is really at the discretion of the board, determining what a day of service may include. The statute allows that to be board meetings, JBWD committee meetings, conferences or organized educational activities open to the public that involve a discussion of general interest to the public or water districts. In many cases, when I see that, I see when attendance has been, when boards will add into their policy when attendance has been specifically approved by the board, so that there is some control in terms of what conferences are being attended, and some advanced planning on that as well for budgetary purposes. And then the board has the discretion to include in its ordinance such other meetings or events as may be specified by the board in its written policy adopted at that public meeting where we have a public hearing. And so we can provide you, and I'll go a little bit to the process I discussed at the end, but your ordinance can specify specifically what types of meetings you will provide compensation for. Now, again, as I mentioned, the last increase to this board's compensation was on December 1st, 2008 to 173.63 per day for each day's service. If you were considering a new ordinance before December 1st, sorry, I thought someone said something. If you were considering an ordinance before December 1st, 2024, the board may approve an increase up to a maximum of $360.96 per day, based on that limit of no more than 5% per calendar year. So you have some room. It doesn't mean you have to go to that number, but you would have the statutory flexibility to go up to that number. Once you set a new number, that will reset your calculations to the no more than 5% per calendar year based on that new amount. So if you make a change, it will reset that calculation. Since obviously the big increase this time is because it's been a number of years since you last considered it. So just as an example, if the board would increase compensation to $200 per day in 2024, then in 2025, the maximum increase would be for up to $210 per day. So even though this time you can go up to 360, if you set it at a lower amount, that will reset your limits. Now, the process for considering director compensation increases, generally, I think the board would want to determine what the maximum increase it would like to consider would be, and the type and number of meetings for which it would provide compensation. The key point of that maximum increase is it doesn't necessarily mean if you give us direction, or we end up agreeing on a draft ordinance that, let's say it was $200 per day. And then the public hearing comes and you receive input. If there was a desire to go higher, you couldn't do it without renoticing the process. But if you decided to go lower, say to 190, the board could still do that. So I think you want to set a maximum tolerance that you'd be willing to consider if you are so inclined to consider a compensation change. And then notice that. And then obviously that gives you flexibility to go down. And then what will happen from there is I'll coordinate with Sarah to prepare a draft ordinance for the board's consideration. And that can either be brought back to either a committee or the board for a preliminary review and input before we actually go through the notification, publication process. So we can have another discussion just like this, if it was desired. And then ultimately, we'd notice a public hearing and bring it to the board for formal consideration and a public hearing. Following the hearing, the board can consider the ordinance for formal adoption, with final adoption limited to compensation at or below, again, the notice amount. And I would just point out that any increase would not be effective for 60 days after the date of adoption of the ordinance. Unless the district receives a petition protesting the ordinance signed by at least 10% of, and it's a very, very complicated, we call the election office and determine what this number is for you in advance. But theoretically, if you got a protest signed by at least 10% of the number of voters within JBWD who voted in the last gubernatorial election, then you'd have to suspend the ordinance until it was submitted to voters in a regular or special election. So
Okay.
not likely that would happen, but that is a potential in the statute. And that's the process. I'm happy to answer questions that you may have or help facilitate your discussion. And I will stop sharing my screen as well.
Happy to answer any questions that you have too, and please, okay.
Vice President Doolittle.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much for bringing this and arranging this. I very much appreciate it. So a couple things, well, a few things actually. There's something called total compensation package, which is, I imagine, a little difficult to calculate for us, but I did it just now for the High Desert Water District. At least I took a stab at it, because otherwise it's very difficult to figure out, what the value of these things are. And so if we consider High Desert and, is everything okay? You're sighing a lot. Is everything okay?
No, I'm just kind of nervous today.
Oh, you're okay. Sorry. Okay. If the,
Not at all.
oh,
Not at
okay.
all. No.
You're good? You're good? Okay. I just estimated that they would meet on average 4 times a month. That allows for conferences that they go to and things like that. And so that comes up to 8,400 a year. And then if we the district, let's just say the district contributes this, 1,989. I just put that. I didn't, for the medical, I didn't even do the other ones. That's 24,000 a year. So that's 32,400 a year that at the base, very least that the High Desert board is getting. Now, ours was, mine went last year was 11,000. So I just wanted to share that.
I can also say that not everybody has to take medical either, so.
Oh, absolutely. No, right. But and I don't know how to calculate the value of an optional thing, right? So I'm not quite sure. And we don't know who's taking what, but still, it is there for them to take. So a few things, it's been 16 years since I think that the board has considered the compensation package for the board, and 16 years since it's been raised. And as I figured that it must have been that high 16 years ago, because I heard they removed the benefits. Maybe someone like Kathleen remembers, I don't know. Okay, all right. There were no benefits ever. Okay. So a few things I want to say. This is not just for the board right now as it is, but for the future boards. And as I've indicated before, it might be a greater draw if there was some increase in the per diem, but perhaps not. I just wanted to point out a few things, and I would request that, those of us who have different opinions not judge those of us who differ in opinion. So for example, there are those who may believe that the public service that we do here is first and foremost, and being self-sacrificial is the number one thing. Well, I believe that we do both of those things. We receive this stipend, and we also contribute a lot in public service, because I don't know if you guys realize, just speaking for myself, there's a lot that I do that's not compensated. So all the reading that goes into preparing for a meeting, or the reading of the material such as the hazard mitigation plan and stumbling through the errors in that, which I should be paid for. But that, for example, the research that has to go into it, the publications, I read my Aqua newsletter every time. I'm reading all the things that it says about legislative stuff that's happening. And then there's a lot of news that I read related to water. And some of you know this because I sent it to you. There's another thing that happens is handling ratepayer issues. I know that you guys, the district handles them, but sometimes those come to me. And I have to spend a long time on the phone or talking to these people in person or via email, discussing, what their issues are. And then delicately, as well as I can be delicate, trying to handle it with the district and going back and forth. So those are just a few things I think that we should consider, that our contributions that are unpaid without a stipend, that could be considered public service. So I just wanted to make that comment. And Director Johnson, General Manager Johnson, I don't know if you could come up with something that would give us a better idea of what the value of this is compared to us, rather than just these, things here. And then you said you couldn't tell what Mission Springs is, but isn't that what this is in the center, the PPO, HMO, and no?
I just don't know what the district's contribution is.
Oh, okay.
Depends on what their contribution is.
Oh,
Every
okay.
district has a different contribution.
All right, okay. So dental and vision is 95%. Yeah. So I don't know, is there something you think you could do to quantify this a little bit better so we could understand it more? Like I did, I don't know, if there's value to,
It's not really the board decision of what you want to do next, and that's why we're here tonight, to figure out, what steps to take next. Because yes, of course, we can look into more of this and see what else we can find and put together for you that's, better formatted so that you can understand the differences in compensation. But I think the cocktail math that you did is essentially what we're going to bring you.
okay.
And it's gonna be very similar, be more accurate numbers, obviously, but what you did,
Yeah.
I think, is already pointing in the right direction.
Okay, yeah. Okay, thank you. That's all from me.
Director Fick.
Well, my first question would be, what is $173 worth in 2008 compared to what would $173 be in 2008 compared to what we're doing in 2024?
I can give you that answer in a moment too. Sarah might be grabbing it. I have it in my memo. I just don't have it in front of me.
It's a Google thing.
Yeah, well, that's what they're doing now, I guess. I don't know.
I am almost there. It's so based on the consumer price index for Los Angeles, Long Beach, Anaheim, going back to 2008, the comparable change. So 173.63 would be $248.15 based on the last published indices. So 248.15.
Okay, that's the answer on that one. Yeah, and of course, I've been involved in indirect community service for decades and stuff, and this being on this panel or board is the first time I've ever been paid before in the kind of situation. And I'm somewhat in great support of VP Doolittle's efforts. I am in the unusual position of having $47,000 donated to this water district back in 2017. So, you know, I'm working it down as far as that goes. I think I've got about 5,000 something so far in my tax. I'm doing my taxes now, so I got that 1099, so I think it's around 5,000 something. So yeah, that's about all I've got for now.
Thank you. Director Jarlsberg.
Yeah, I'm kind of on the same wavelength as Director Fick. I was thinking that obviously 173 is worth less than it was in 2008. And also compared to the budget, the district budget in 2008, how did that amount relate were the directors like blown away because they got that much and it was a big chunk out of the budget? Or was the budget, more robust, whatever that word is, robust back in 2008 than it is now? Although obviously we're doing pretty well right now. So as far as our needed expenses, so, I'm just trying to think, the difference, it is a long time to not have any movement. And I think I made a comment last time when we started talking about this, that I felt like 173 was probably quite a bit in 2008, quite a, generous compensation for people's time. Now it seems reasonable to me. And I did do my taxes already this year. And it was a little over 8,000 for the year. And for me, I live on Social Security basically, and a few little side things. And so it's a help financially, and I'm actually very grateful for this amount. I too have rarely been paid for any volunteer time that I've done. I do know that I applied, or I ran for city council in the small town of Point Arena, which is probably a little bit like this district in the kind of jurisdiction it has. The kind of budget is smaller, but the city council members are compensated for $60 for one meeting a month. And I'm amazed that people volunteer for that, actually. I'd like to see some kind of incremental change, but I'm not sure what it would be right now. And I would like to have some more comparison to 2008, where this decision was made originally. And to see how it might compare in this day and age when prices have gone up and everything, so.
And what the budget was? No.
No, I'd have to look that up. It would require a little bit of.
Yeah, I know. I just, I didn't expect you to pull it out of the air.
Sorry.
Or even follow up on that question, but maybe as we're discussing it more, that's all I can think of right now. I'm sure there's gonna be more discussion.
Director Short.
Okay, obviously, again, this is just my opinion on these matters, and obviously there isn't a right and wrong answer here. But I am of the mind that we shouldn't be doing this for money. I am perfectly satisfied with our compensation as is. What I would like to know is how much would it cost for the notice of public hearing?
I do not have that quote. I offhand, I don't know what the cost of the local paper is. It can be anywhere from what I've seen. You're probably looking at 700 or 800 perhaps for each publication. So maybe 1,500 to 2,000. Obviously, we're not publishing in something like the LA Times, which the cost is even significantly higher. We can certainly get that quote and bring it back to you if we're bringing back additional information, though.
Kathleen Radnich.
Well, is he done?
No, I'm not.
Well, this is relevant to that, to the newspaper cost and stuff.
I can feel everything you're saying, and the world is really weird now, and it all makes sense that you're going down this road. I wanna just, as your representative out there, caution you that not long ago, we had a board member, a president of the board, who took advantage of the situation here at the Water District. And the media got a hold of it. And they ate us alive. They ran a hit piece on what boards were getting paid up here. And it happened that our board's president was at the very top of raking in. And we ate money. I'm just letting you know, the public and the media will be watching. Wherever you go with this, keep that in mind. It's election year, so.
Since you do publicize a lot of things in the paper, newspapers and on radio and all that kind of stuff, do you have an estimate or an idea of what it would cost to run these? Because isn't there some specifics about how many?
In the notice part of the newspaper? Is that what you're referring to?
Yeah.
Yeah, it would be it's in the legal notice of the newspaper.
Yeah.
You publish it once a week for 2 consecutive weeks.
What we're trying to get here is a response to Director Short's question, or
Might be wrong, but last I saw for a small one, it was just like $80 for the first hit.
I don't,
You know, I have, just looking at the more recent public notices that we've published, some of them being standby hearings, urban water management plans, water conservation. They've ranged between $500 and $1,000.
Wow, that's
Yeah,
really
for
gone
for
up.
2 weeks. Yeah.
Okay.
There's just a lot to consider.
Yeah.
That's all.
Yep.
And how many work hours spent would this take away from the district? Just an estimate.
do the state, well,
So if we were to proceed with this in any fashion, it would take away from other duties, correct?
yes.
Yeah,
so
we're in
all this
budget
together
season.
already has, just to, time, because you have to put in requests to different districts and get responses and have conversations. But
Okay.
also a couple of hours on this, but going forward, if the benefits were considered, that's a whole administrative piece. We'd have to do, the open enrollment, and there was a lot, that goes
Yeah.
all of that.
And as to what Kathleen was saying, public perspective on this is going to be huge. And if we remember, not too long ago, we voted to not take advantage of a program to help ratepayers with arrearages due to it taking too much time. And if we now vote to take away district time for our own benefit, that is going to be an awful look. That's all I have.
Well, I won't belabor you with a bunch of the stuff that I burdened you with at the last meeting on this subject. But I'm firmly against getting into all of this insurance and medical benefits and all that other sorts of stuff that would draw us in as employees of the district with that kind of an interest in it, rather than being watchdogs from the outside that are keeping an eye on what you're doing with the water and the money. That kind of thing. I like the separateness part of it. And I don't know what the administrative issues would be if we were adding self-paying, 5 more self-paying employees to the insurance burden. I don't know how all that would go, but I'm suspicious of us. However, just in the per diem type thing of 173.63, I'm not resistant to raising that to some level, but to raise it to what was that number that 300 and something?
Yeah,
That to me is it might end up being outrageous for.
It was 248.15.
no, that was
Okay, that is-
value last
yeah.
2008.
Thank you.
369.6.
Yeah.
What did I have? Why do I have that?
Well, that's
With 5%.
Maximum is 360.96, and then the 248.15 was the time value of money.
Oh, okay, right. Okay, sorry about that.
So if it was just and by the way, when we talk about the per diem, we're talking about multiple events or issues that a board member would go to for all 5 of us. It wouldn't be just $173. It would be a lot per month. We have I'm not sure if I got the right stuff here or not, but I have the quarterly report, I think it is, which shows what the budget is for director salary. It's a little bit confusing to me because the one just below that is directors and CAC training. And I don't know if that area would include per diem type stuff.
That is where that budget goes.
And I'm seeing with the director salary part at mid-year, we've spent 45% of it. And if we increased it immediately, we would be beyond the budget. So what I would be interested in would be whether or not we could raise the basic per diem amount at the beginning of the next fiscal year, so that we're in line with our budget for this year.
Well, it wouldn't affect, I think, because of saying the budget this year, it would be next fiscal year because of the
60-day thing, yeah.
You basically at this point won't have the ability to adopt anything that would take
Right.
effect until next fiscal year,
Right.
just from a timing standpoint.
But by my math, which you can certainly question, if we did a 5% increase in that 173.63, that would bring it up to 182.32, and I'm rounding upward. And this is, remember, per thing. In other words, when I go to the MWA TAC meeting tomorrow, I'm going to get 173.63 for that. And by the way, I mentioned this to general manager a few days ago, that a trip up there for me generates a fuel bill of about $40 just to go to that meeting. That's assuming I don't buy any candy for $5.97 for 3 hours, which I paid 12 cents for when I was a kid. That in there. So anyway, yeah, and as to the specific amount, that would be for each item that we do. And by the way, these the amounts that directors will earn in a month is itemized in the monthly check register. It's all listed there. What we did, how much we got in a total for each director. So public people can monitor that kind of thing month by month too. So I'm kind of pleased that we do that. So anyway, yeah, some sort of a percentage increase in that payment, that per diem payment would be something that I think would be reasonable. And I don't want to because my financial situation is stable, and so this isn't a big deal for me, but I don't want to impose my sense of the importance of this on other people. And it would be people too that aren't necessarily here on the board now. It would be for the future.
Exactly.
For the future too. But the 5% or whatever we agree upon, minus anything about health insurance and all that other stuff, would be where I'm at on this.
I have some additional information if you'd like it now.
But
I didn't mean to surprise you. Sorry about that.
The 2007-08 budget the operating budget was just under 3.5 million. And the director expense was 20,000. So just for that information.
There were 5 directors.
Yeah.
Hmm. I think, is there any public comment on director pay, kind of, pay and benefits kind of stuff? Can we maybe get some responses to what's been said by other folks here, discussion? Is there any?
I could.
Help yourself.
I tend to agree with President Sloan. I think it might be a good thing to consider at least the 5%. Because it has been 14 years
16.
or yeah, whatever. I mean, enough to really consider it. But not a gross amount. I mean, we don't want to be greedy any more than the staff does. And, or do we want to be stingy any more than the staff does? And I think it might, behoove us to consider a reasonable increase. My thing is though, I'd like to see it rounded off, like 180 or something like that. I mean,
I bet you.
oh, really?
Please, it would make life a lot easier.
Oh my God, that's my thing. And I constantly do that. So I don't know if that's possible or not, but anyway, that's my opinion. And however, we have to work it into the budget process too, obviously.
Do you need anything further from us on that one?
Yes, so you'll
Or
need
there's
to
some other-
provide us some direction of what next steps you want to do and, Jeff, they need to take a vote on what their motion is and what next steps are for us.
Yeah, I would think a vote in terms of direction, if there's direction that the board wishes us to take, of course. If there's no direction, then obviously we just die without a motion. But and I'll just throw in a couple of options that do exist. We obviously could work to prepare a draft ordinance. Because one item that we also really probably don't have enough information for the board to discuss tonight is the list of meetings that they wish to consider as part of a day of service. So I could always prepare sort of a standardized ordinance and maybe list the ones that I've seen considered before, and then in a future discussion, the board could receive the other information you've asked for, and you could cross them off the list. We don't necessarily have to have a dollar amount tonight. Obviously, we're not bringing it to publication or public hearing yet if we're going to have one more discussion on it, but we can kind of prepare an ordinance and you can mull over the dollar amount as well, or we can have one put in there as a draft right now, whatever the preference of the board might be.
And to clarify too, we do have the list that's in the admin code under policy. It's not in the ordinance. So is it better to have it in policy or in the ordinance?
We can put it in both, and if we just echo the same one that exists, it won't be any change. Like we can start there with the list.
Okay.
Well,
We just had discussion and he had something to say.
well, go ahead, David.
I was wanting to see, what is, back in 2008, when they went to 173, what was it before then? In other words, how much of a jump was it before then?
It was started at 5%.
No, the board in going to the 173,
Yeah,
what was it before that?
The year before, that doesn't mean it was 5% because that could have been 10 years before they raised it.
You can only do 5% per year.
Per calendar year. So each since the last adjustment. The
Well,
statute started at $100. So at some point they did adjust from 100 up to a number, whether they went from 100 to 173 or they're interim. I obviously don't know the answer to that, but
I might have that answer, please.
Well, in ordinance 05-4, it went from I think it went from $100 to $150. Now, I don't see a date on this thing.
There's several ordinances. There's 05.4, there's the 55.7.06. So I can have to open each one of those up to give you that.
so they considered it every couple of years? Is that what you're
It
saying?
looks like, well, 1997, then 2005, 2006, 2007, 2008, and that's because they did that 5% a year. It
Hmm.
looks like. So 2000, let me go back to this oldest one from 90. So it's $100.
Yeah,
The next one. So that's where it began, and that's what I have on record, 2000 or 1990.
1990.
So it's $100 is the bottom, right, Jeff? So that's where it would have had to have started per statute.
Yeah, and it looks like I just had that on my screen as well. It looked like you had you set it $100 in 1990. Is that what, I think you may have just said that too.
Yes,
I was also looking. It looks like before 173, it was 165.37. And it looks like you had changes. So in 1990 it was set at 100. I'm seeing another ordinance in 2005, another ordinance in 2006, another ordinance in 2007, and then another ordinance in 2008, and then that was the last one.
and
But
Jeff,
that-
because they did that 5% per year. Because if
For
you
a few
think about
years.
an ordinance that each year, each
Yeah.
calendar year goes up that additional 5% up to that cap.
Yes, it's 5% per calendar year since the last adjustment. So in those 4 increments, they would have been maxed at 5% between those years. And it looks like that's
There's no-
probably what they did.
There's no cap.
Interesting.
Well, there is a cap based on the last adopted amount. That adopted amount creates the cap. So currently, right now, based on what we have, the 173.63, the max, the cap would be 360.96.
Yeah.
Right, but then we wouldn't have it after we raise this 5%, right? We wouldn't have a cap.
Correct.
No, you would if you raise 5%, went to 182, or say 180, or whatever you might do, then that's your last adjustment. So the
Right,
next
right.
calendar year, you could only do 5% of that. So you would reset your clock.
Yeah,
Very complicated structure.
yeah.
It is.
in 08, it looks like it went from 165.37 to
Mhm.
100.
That's why it's a weird number.
That's right. That's what I just
Because of
said.
the 5%.
I was reading it.
Oh, okay.
Multitasking weakness. To me, this is just, we offered a bunch of general opinions that are wide ranging, and I don't know if we're ready to do a motion and all of that. Yeah, unless somebody wants to make one.
Motion of what to do, or if you just want to make a motion that we bring this back as a future agenda item for you to discuss again. There's a lot of options, or you can make a motion to talk about an increase, it doesn't, you don't have to give the amounts, or a motion to have Jeff and I start working on documents.
I'd just like to make a simple motion that we continue discussing this issue and bring it up as an ongoing agenda item until we resolve it.
So.
I don't know if that's possible,
And then
Jeff.
vote that we will not have a board meeting on the 17th.
Right.
And then we will have very busy board meetings through May and June, so.
Right.
Maybe we pick a date that it comes back.
No,
I'd like to make a motion that we do have council and our general manager prepare the documents and information related to the standard 5% increase to board compensation stipend.
Something like in the form of a menu where we could either say, yes, we like this, or no, we don't.
We have a motion on the floor right now.
Yours or hers?
Mine, I was the one who made the motion.
Well, we had two. We had that one, the simple motion. And then we had,
but we haven't had any seconds.
good point. So it would be Vice President Doolittle's motion, and we'll try that one. Is there a second?
Well, would you repeat it, please?
I make the motion that we request council and General Manager Johnson put together the required documentation and plan related to a 5% increase, annual increase in the next budget cycle for the Board of Directors of JBWD.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Roll call vote, please.
President Sloan,
Aye.
Vice President Doolittle.
Yes.
Director Fick,
Yes.
Director Strasberg,
Yes,
Director Short.
No,
Motion carried. Thank you very much on that one.
I just have one thing I'd like to say at the end of it. When I considered running for this position, I had no idea there was pay. I was just gonna do it. So anyway, I just wanted to let you know.
yeah.
Becky told me there was, pay. Had no idea.
Very well. Item 10, reports and comments, informational purposes only on subjects not covered on the agenda. The opinions, I was combining the word opinion with that as well. The opinions of individual directors are not necessarily the opinions of the board or district staff. No action will be taken. The board may provide staff with requests for future agenda items. Director, reports and comments, Vice President Doolittle.
I don't have any particular events or anything that I attended. I do want to note, I am a little concerned about that we are once again going to be constrained by the calendar on consideration of the budget. So if June 5th is the regular board meeting of proposed budget adoption, does that mean we have to adopt it then, or do we have the possibility of another board meeting in June to consider it?
That's a great observation, and that's why we do it the first board meeting, so it can come back to the second if needed.
All right, okay.
We have 3 meetings prior to that to hopefully flush all that out so that on that June 5th, hopefully we're ready. But it's not, that's fine too.
All right, thank you. All from me.
Director Fick.
I'm curious, what is the CAC membership now? Is it, because with one on now and another one coming down, it's about 7 or 8 people?
To a number next time, because we've had some people not coming, so they're going to be off the
okay.
roster. So I don't know the answer to that yet, but I'll know.
There's 8 right now, but 2 will be possibly leaving or removed.
What's the
And
man?
there's 4,
12, okay,
there's 4 seats right now.
yeah, okay.
Welcome.
4 seats open?
Yes.
Thank you.
is that counting the 2 that are gonna be removed? Yeah. So there'll be 6.
That's all for now.
Thank you. Director Jarlsberg.
Yeah, I did attend the MWA board meeting on March 28th last week. And the major part of the meeting, well, I attended by Zoom or virtually. The major part of the meeting was a rather long workshop on the master plan, where the fellow who's kind of organizing that, I don't recall exactly who he was, but I think he was a consultant, went through this a very, very extensive PowerPoint, which I will not detail in this report. But the statement that was made at the end of it that I thought was kind of interesting, the master plan is considered a dynamic document, and the strategic plan is considered a static document. And I thought that was an interesting difference, and it kind of made me think about it a little bit. And as normal, most of the people that were supposed to report said none. So it was mostly that workshop and a few other odds and ends. Oh, and I see that the manager meetup has been canceled in April, which was, I believe, Short and me. And what do we do now? When do we get a chance to sit down with you?
Back on the next regular schedule, and that's part of my report, but I can tell you now that on the next Wednesday is DWR's Urban Water Management Kickoff Meeting, happening scheduled at the same time as all of that, and we
Yeah.
really need to participate.
Right.
It's going to be a huge document that's going to be coming our way
Yeah.
very soon, and we need staff to be there to be to be getting prepared to get this new regulatory item going.
I understand, but I think I'm scheduled again for December. I have to wait till December for this now.
Well, we're gonna have to probably reorganize the same way we do when finance gets changed.
Okay, thank you. That's it.
Director Short.
Oh, I did not attend any meetings since the last one, so I have no comments at this time.
Same here, I think. General Manager's report. Proceed, please.
Hopefully, I have been working with the U.S. Water Alliance recently. I think the last meeting I explained that we had a meeting. They've done an information request. They're looking at some options for potential financing. If we have to go with the Chrome 6 issue that's, coming down the pike. So they sent a gigantic information request, and then I had Lisa working on it, and then they responded, never mind, your website's fabulous, everything is there. So, so we were very happy about that. I think there's only 2 documents that we had to send. So we were excited that she said that it was very user friendly and that what she's looking for was there. So that saves so much time.
Quick question. Have we become a member of US Water
We're
Alliance?
gonna work at that in the budget.
Okay.
Cycle.
Okay, good. Good.
But the good news is that they are going to work with us on this without being a member. And if you remember during the meeting that we had, that there was a section of their organization that they have to work with districts for these matters. They get paid by different agencies to work with districts, and whether you're a member or not. And they think that we're a good candidate. So when I have more information, it's complicated, it takes a lot of time. When I have more information, I'll be happy to bring it. We submitted 2 grants to Mojave Water Agency. Kathleen was instrumental in helping with that process. And one of those is the regular one that we do every year for the conservation messaging that we do with the other districts in partnership. The second one was a new one, and that was to do some rework. I don't even want to get it, so don't get too excited. But to do some rework and extend the garden out in front of the building and put up a Gabion wall to help with water flow into the building should we have flooding.
What kind of wall?
Gambion.
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 Actually,
Fabian.
sure. Gambion. So it's
Gambion.
Often both ways that I don't even, I know what
Oh.
it is, but whoever says it, whatever will.
So it's a cage that holds rocks.
Oh, yeah.
I've
I've seen it.
seen this around town. And on the inside, it's nice because it helps with water seepage. It helps direct the flow. We want to keep it out of the garden because every time we have any flooding here, that garden gets demolished every single time. So the goal is to wrap it around in such a way that it diverts it back where it's supposed to go. And then be able to, connect the front of the building with a little bit more pleasant walking into the building in a garden rather than this, asphalt. Not as pleasant, but anyway, that's in the works. So fingers crossed that NWA sees our vision and grants some of that money for that. As I spoke earlier, we do have the urban water management kickoff meeting coming up April 10th. So I apologize for the cancellations, but that's sometimes it happens. And I think this will be a good use of our time. April 17th also is canceled. It'll be in Sacramento with CWSA, and that's for State Water Resources Control Board possible decision on the NCL for Chromium 6. So there'll be a lot more information. We'll also be speaking with legislators that day. In regards to meetings, I attended the monthly CWSA meeting last week, and besides that, we have been in multiple staff meetings for budgets. So we're trying really hard to bring you this a little bit different this year with more information, and hopefully it'll be a smoother process. I'm happy to do my report. And did you have one thing you wanted?
I did, yeah, if kind of allows.
Yes.
Quickly. So I have kind of an exciting update on the LAIF versus class versus camp versus CalTrust investment pool project. We have secured a great presenter who will come and present to the board during early summer on the various investment pool options. His webinar, which Sarah and I both attended last month, I believe, was presented in a very unbiased way, which is what I am looking for. so that we can properly consider all of those very similar products. And he will gladly do the same for us. He's the director of PFM Asset Management LLC, which administers CAMP. And again, it's a product similar to Class and CalTrust, but he's also a prior employee of CalTrust and CSDA. And CSDA, if you know by chance, having attended some of the conferences there, CSDA is endorsing Class, the newest product. But these three products are very similar, with the biggest difference being the longevity of the plans and CAMP being the oldest plan. But I'm happy to announce that Kyle Tanaka will join us and answer our questions regarding these plans. So just wanted to give you an update on that.
Anything further from the board?
Well, if you're going to ask, I just have one thing. And this relates to the agenda, and it's just very general. But I noticed when you're on the website and you go to find the current agenda, it's the order of the agendas is very weird. So it shows you agendas in the past, and so then I think, oh, okay, so it's the closest agenda is going to be all the way at the bottom, but it's not. It's in the middle. So I don't know if I can show you. Yeah,
Yeah, show. Please.
I will.
Yeah, show us. It's always, the current agenda is always on the front page. You scroll down to the bottom, it's always on the front page.
Well, this is somewhere where I go to the board and then I click agendas, and so it's a it's not on the front page. So it's not, I'm not looking on the front page when I do
No, I
this.
understand, but just for.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay. Website's great, not being critical.
Director Jarlsberg.
Read the website. Yeah, I've just had a chance to kind of look at it a little bit too, but I appreciated, and I had talked to David Shook about the little I'm sorry.
Social icon.
Yeah, being so tiny, but now we have a big old picture of it that we can, with information. It was
do was double them up.
It was good.
Some on the top and the bottom.
Yeah, well, I like the ones on the bottom. So yeah, if you miss the ones at the top, then you got them at the bottom. So that's good. Thank you.
Well, hearing nothing further, item 11 is a closed session. It is a conference with labor negotiators under authority of which gives us relief from the Brown Act. Government Code Section 54957.6A. The designated representatives will be Sarah Johnson, General Manager, unrepresented employee. And all district employees. That's the part that confused me.
It's for all district.
At any rate, we're going into closed session. Or we will return after the closed session and I'll report either on some action that was taken. Well, we can't take an action, can we?
No, that.
We'll report out when we're done. Usually the attorney does that.
I'll send you a Teams invite.
Okay, perfect.
Very well,
It's gonna pop back in.
Okay.
right here.
To watch any TV while we're gone?
Don't we have cable?
Oh, there is. Okay, closed session has ended as at 8:15 hours. And we're back in regular session again. Council Jeff Hoskinson, proceed, please.
Yes, the board met in closed session on item 11 as agendized and took no reportable action.
Thank you very much.
I make a motion that we adjourn this meeting.
Is there a second? A second. Motion carried, meeting adjourned at 8:16.